Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Chelsea and today I'm going to be doing a video on travel safety. So for those of you who don't know, I have just got back from a 4-month trip around Central America. I will link the videos up in the corner if you want to go and watch them. It's this corner, isn't it? I will link the videos up in the corner if you want to go and watch them. So I'm just going to get straight into the video because I have got a lot of tips and I don't want this video to be too long. So the first thing that I would recommend for your travel safety is to get a CareGo personal alarm. So this company actually sent me this alarm, and what it is a GPS tracking device via an app, and you download an app on your phone called CareGo. So it's just like this. Hello. And basically it is a GPS, so it will show you exactly where your CareGo is at the moment. What I really like about this is that it's not only good for safety, but if you press the bottom of your CareGo for a few seconds, you can find your phone. So if you lose your phone, you could just press the button on the bottom. So it even works when your phone is on silent as well, which is really good. Let me just wait for my dad to move. Why are they always there? Okay, so how you use this is if you are walking somewhere or getting a taxi somewhere and you want someone to be able to track where you're going, what you do is you just twist the black bit at the top, and that means that now my family will get notifications to be able to track me. So yes, my mum and my dad are paying close attention to me. Once you arrive at your destination, then you can just twist it back and that will end the GPS tracker. I'm pretty sure at any time if your family want to know where you are, then they can go into the app and it will come up on their phone where this is at the moment, so they'll always be able to know where you are, obviously as long as you have this. If there is an emergency of any kind and you need help, then you can just pull this out and it will set off an SOS to all of your people who are following you. So that is the little CareGo device. I think that this is amazing for travel safety because your family are always gonna know where you are. So if they're worried about you going traveling on your own, get one of these and maybe it will give them a bit of peace of mind. Hello, this is Editing Chelsea here. I thought of this today because I went to London and I took the CareGo with me and I put it in my bag, like hooked onto a little part in my bag. And I thought, you know what, actually this is great because if my bag gets stolen, I'm gonna know exactly where it's going. When I was in Mexico, one of my friends left his bag at the beach. And basically what happened was he went back to the beach. They went around wherever we had been, and his bag wasn't there anymore. So he suddenly had a thought that his Apple Watch was in his bag, and that has like a location thing on it. Luckily he wasn't wearing his Apple Watch and it was in his bag. But he could get the location up on his phone and he found it. He found his bag in someone's bike. Like his GPS took him to someone's bike. He asked some policemen and he was showing them. He said, like, look, my bag is in this bike, and it was locked. And then the policeman like busted it open and his bag was indeed in there. He never would have got that back if it wasn't for his GPS tracker in his Apple Watch. So that really saved him, the fact that he had that GPS and he was just lucky enough not to be wearing his Apple Watch because someone had stolen his bag. I'm gonna get back into the video now. I will have this little CareGo device linked in the description below. You can also get a discount if you put in my code. I don't know what the code is yet while I'm filming this, but obviously by the time this video is uploaded I will know it, so I'll put it up on the screen here and also in the description so that you can go and get yourself one of these CareGo devices with a little bit of a discount. Moving on to the next travel safety tip, that is to always go out with people, whether you knew them before you were traveling or not, whether you are traveling with friends or if you're traveling alone and you've met people in the hostel. Whenever I am away, I always try to go out with people who I have met in the hostel, just so that I'm never alone in a country. If you can as well, groups are better than just one other person. Obviously one other person is probably better than no one, but obviously you don't actually know these people, so it's probably safer to get a group of lots of different people, just because then it would be a bit safer, because obviously if you go out with just one other person you don't actually know them really, so you don't know what they're really like. But for the most part you can tell by people's personalities, but then again you never know, so always try and go in a group if possible. So the next safety tip is, if you do go out to bars in the evenings, try not to get too drunk so that you are still conscious of what you're doing, where you're going, who you're with. Always also try and go out with people who you can trust, who won't leave you somewhere on your own. Obviously there are a lot of people in the world who will think, oh yeah, she's 24, she can get home on her own, she'll be fine. But I personally would not want to walk home, even in England, past midnight on my own, past 10, 11 p.m. I don't like walking around on my own at night. So always make sure that there is going to be someone who you can trust to not leave you on your own. Just so that you always have someone to walk home with, and if for some reason something ever did happen, say your drink got spiked, or for whatever reason you have someone there that you can trust to take care of you. To be honest, that's a tip for even just going out to bars and things in your own countries, but especially when traveling. My next tip is to get a SIM card so that you can always contact people. A lot of people when you're traveling will have international SIM cards, or they will get local SIM cards, so they can always use data. So if you don't have an international SIM card, then always buy a SIM card in the country that you go to. This is especially helpful if for some reason you get into a tricky situation and you need to message someone for help, then you can do that. Rather than having to try and connect to any Wi-Fi nearby. Obviously if you're outside you're not going to be able to connect to Wi-Fi, so it's always worth having a SIM card just in case you do need any kind of help. And it also means that you can contact the emergency services if you ever need to. Always make sure that you know the emergency services phone number in the country that you are in, just so that if you ever need to, you can always contact the emergency services from your phone with your local SIM card. I would also recommend when you're buying your local SIM card to check if it includes minutes, because a lot of them are for data only. So I would try and get one that includes minutes as well, so that, as I say, if you do ever need to phone someone, then you can. My next tip is to make sure you have travel insurance. This is very important. If anything goes wrong with your travels, whether that is a medical issue or if it's like a travel issue, you want to make sure that you can get any treatment that you need without having to spend hundreds or even thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever currency. You always want to make sure that you can get that medical help if you need it. So always make sure that you get travel insurance. I know that it seems like a waste of money when you don't use it, but you never know when you're going to need it, and you will always thank yourself for having it if something does happen. Also with travel insurance, a lot of them recently that I have noticed don't include gadget cover, or don't include very good gadget cover. So if you do find a travel insurance that doesn't have gadget cover, then get that separately, just so that if you lose your phone, you can pay extra if you lose it yourself, to have that covered. But a lot of them won't cover you if you just leave your phone on a table, so I actually paid extra to have even that covered as well, because you never know. But yes, just make sure that you have gadget cover in case your phone gets stolen or broken or whatever it is. A lot of phones in hot countries will just stop working, so if you have gadget cover, then you'll be able to get that fixed pretty easily and quite cheaply as well. So yes, travel insurance of every kind is very important. As well as having the CareGo alarm, I would also recommend having an alarm that you can use in person, so one that will create a loud sound. Just so that if anything was happening, if you are being attacked, then you can just release that alarm and it will let anyone who is close by know that you are in trouble and that you need some help. These can be a bit tricky because they can be quite easy to set off, so just be careful with them that you're not setting it off in a situation where you don't need to, because that can be very embarrassing. The next thing that I would suggest is to get a curve card. What a curve card is a card, and you can put all of your other credit cards, debit cards onto this card. So when I travel with a curve card, a Monzo, a post office travel card, and then potentially a credit card as well. I don't actually take my debit card with me, I leave that at home, but I always have these 3 cards to travel with. I will have them in 3 separate bags as well, so that if one of my bags gets stolen, I will still have 2 cards to be able to use to buy things. But basically, a curve card is great because if you lose it, you still have all of your cards. So if I ever lost my curve card, then I would start using my Monzo, and then if I lost my Monzo, then I have my travel post office travel card. So I will always have these 3 cards, because people lose cards, they get stolen all the time. I will only ever bring out one at a time though, just so that if I do get mugged for some reason, then I will still have my other ones. It's a very bad idea to bring all your cards out with you. But I have met a lot of people while traveling who have had to stay in one location for a lot longer than they planned because they've lost their credit cards. It's been stolen, or they've lost it and they have to wait for a new one. A lot of these people also didn't have backup cards, so they had to ask people who they met to transfer money to them and get them to take out cash for them, and it's just a whole palaver. So I always bring these extra cards and keep them in separate bags. Yes, while we're on the topic of money, don't take out too much cash in one go. I know that you do get charged a fee every time that you take out cash, so it's tempting to take out a lot in one go, but then you have a lot of cash that can quite easily be stolen from you walking back from the bank. But I would rather pay a little bit extra to take out money more regularly than to have all of my money stolen in a very unlucky situation. Even when you do get out money, let's say you take out £100 in one go, then split that money around your bags and only take out £20 in one go. When you're traveling, you don't need a lot of money on you for each day, because it depends where you are. Obviously, if you're in Australia, you'll probably need a lot of money, but you can pay by card in a lot of places in Australia. Whereas in countries that don't accept card as much, there will probably be cheaper places. So you can get away with taking out only £20 in a day, and then if that gets stolen, it doesn't matter. That's not a lot of money. Even when you are storing it in your hostel, move it around in different parts of your bag so that if someone ever breaks into your locker and decides to have a look through your bag, they'll take out what could be maybe £20 from one section, maybe think that's all the cash you have, and then move on. So yes, just split up your money, never keep it all in one place. It can be annoying sometimes if you think you've run out of money and then you find it later in a different country. You maybe have some Mexican pesos in Guatemala and you're like, that's not useful. So try and remember where you put it at least, but yes, definitely put it in places as well that someone might not think to look. Okay, my next tip is to walk around confidently. If you look confident, like you know where you're going, someone is probably less likely to attack you. If you are confident, you look like you have been in this place for a long time, compared to someone who is looking around very confused, like, oh, I don't know where I am, I'm a little bit nervous. That person is a much easier target, so anyone will go for that person over you who is walking confidently, you know exactly where you're going, even if you have no idea where you're going. The best tip that I have been taught is to have Google Maps on your phone. Obviously try and memorize your route if you can, but I am awful with directions, so trying to remember a route is just not an option for me. So I would put in a headphone, just one, so that you're still aware of everything that is happening around you. Have the volume quite low again so that you can still hear things, but then you can have your directions right in your ear. It just looks like you're listening to music, you're walking confidently down the street, even though you have no idea where you're going. No one else can tell by the way you're walking, and yeah, it's just great rather than having your phone out like, I think it's this way. You're obviously a big target if you look confused as to where you are. Yes, it also saves you from having to have your phone out and on show. When your phone is out and on show, people can see it and they're much more likely to just take it straight out of your hand. My next tip is, if someone comes and threatens you, give them what they want. Just give it to them. I know it's not fun having to give up your phone if someone's got a knife or a gun or whatever and they're asking for your phone. I can understand that you might want to fight back and protect your things, but don't just give it to them. Your life is more important than your phone, so just give them what they ask for and let them go on their merry way. You can get a new phone with your travel insurance that you are going to have. So there you go. And because of this, always make sure that you back up everything on your phone. If you have an iPhone, always back it up to iCloud. If you have an Android, whatever the Android equivalent is, or like Google Photos or Dropbox or whatever it is that you use, always back up all your pictures, your videos, like everything from your phone, so that if you do have to give up your phone because someone is threatening you, or you lose it, or it gets stolen, or whatever, it breaks, then you can always get everything that is on it, and it's not going to be such a big deal, because the most important thing about your phone is like the pictures and the memories that it holds, rather than the actual thing. You can always replace the actual thing, but you can't replace the memories on it. So yes, always make sure that it's backed up, because then that will make it easier to give it over if you're being threatened, but it will just make the whole situation a lot less upsetting. I also like to send my mum pictures and videos of what I've been doing, not only so that she can see what I'm doing, because she always asks for them and she wants to know what I'm doing, but so that I have a backup as well. So if something fails, I can't get onto iCloud for whatever reason, I'm still gonna have some of my pictures. I obviously don't send her every single picture because I have loads of like the same thing, so I just send her like one or two of each thing, each place, but it just means that I have that there if something did happen and I didn't have like photos and everything backed up, then I can still get some of the pictures from Facebook Messenger. Keeps my mum happy as well. So my next tip is don't drink the water unless you absolutely know that it's safe. So obviously if it's from a like fountain that has like one of them big jugs on the top, then you know that that's safe. But if it's like a tap water, I wouldn't touch it unless you know for sure that it is safe. Only drink the tap water if it says that it is drinking water and you are absolutely sure that it's safe. If not, I have a water bottle. It's called a Grail water bottle. I will link it in the description below. But this actually filters out any bacteria, so I could drink water from a stream or a river or the tap. I did actually use it a couple of times while I was in Central America when I didn't have access to drinking water. I used this, I just filled it up from the tap, and you can filter out all of the bacteria so you can drink the water from the tap. So this is another great thing to do if you're not sure if something is drinkable, then you can just use the filter on there. My next tip is something that I need to listen to as well, and that is to get all of your travel vaccines. I absolutely hate vaccines, so I never get my travel vaccines. I actually finally got them for Central America. Not all of them, but I got all of the ones that I really needed for that trip. Well, I say all of them, I got at least the first one of the series of vaccines. So for example, with hepatitis A, I think you need 2 or 3 vaccines and I only have 1, but at least I got that one. And obviously these vaccines are going to protect you against all of these diseases that you could potentially get in certain countries. So always go to a travel clinic or your doctors and find out what you need for the locations where you want to travel. My next tip is to stay in hostels that have a high rating. They might be a little bit more expensive, but I'd rather have a short, safe trip than a long, unsafe trip. So yes, for example, when I'm looking at hostels, I check that they have a locker inside the room. I actually stayed in one in Mexico. I didn't even think to check this before I went, but the lockers were outside of the room and I didn't feel comfortable putting anything in that. They were also very small, so you could only put your valuables in them, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that, so I kept everything in my room, in my bags, locked. But still, like, anyone could cut a bag, it's not difficult. I started staying in hostels that have a big enough locker to put preferably my entire backpack in. I only carry a 40-litre backpack, so it's not too difficult to find lockers that it can fit in. But if not my big backpack, then at least my small purple backpack and my bum bag, just so I can fit all my valuables into a locker. I'd rather pay a little bit more to know that I have that locker, to know that the hostel has good reviews and it feels safe and it has everything that's good, comfortable beds. Privacy curtains are always nice but not necessary, but yes, as long as I know that it's going to be safe and secure, then I would rather pay a little bit more and not have to spend loads of money replacing my things that have been stolen. Also, the bonus of having a locker that I can put my big bag in. The reason that I am so funny about this, I always try and lock away my big bag if I can, is because I've heard of stories from people I know who have stayed in hostels and people have come in during the night and thrown up on their bag or in their bag or peed on their bag or whatever. It's absolutely disgusting. Humans are gross, but drunk humans do these things. So that is why I always make sure that I have a locker big enough to fit my whole bag in if possible. I don't want to have to deal with that. So yes, it's not only from a theft point of view, but it's also just a keeping my things clean point of view as well. Okay, my next travel safety tip is, if you can, if it's not too much more expensive, or if you have the money, if money isn't an issue, try and travel to new places by plane. If it's like a long journey, obviously if you can avoid getting an overnight bus, do it, because overnight buses are not always safe. A lot of them get hijacked or people come on with guns trying to steal your things. I've heard a lot of bad stories about overnight buses. People always recommend you not to get them. I have got overnight buses on my own before and so far haven't had an issue, but I have heard a lot of bad things about them. If you are going to get overnight transport, then maybe try and get ones that have good ratings from companies that people have recommended. Okay, so then my last tip is to always go on like hikes or like things with tour companies. Basically, if there is a tour company that offers this tour, there's probably a reason for it, so go with the tour company. I know that sometimes it can cost a lot more than doing it yourself, but if you're hiking up a volcano or hiking up a mountain, the tour company is there because they know the routes. simple as you could be on your own, go off route, and then it gets very dangerous and unsafe, and that's how a lot of tourists die, from doing things on their own. Yeah, just don't try and do dangerous things on your own. Okay, so that is it for this video. I hope that these travel safety tips have helped you, and if they have, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you think that I have missed anything, then leave a comment down below with your travel safety tips, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.